Welcome, Praise.
Thank
Okay.
you very much.
Welcome, Praise. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. You're all welcome to this interview practice session. It's a pleasure. So excited. I'm so excited to be here. I'm so excited to be hosting and moderating this session. Now, before we start, we've already started, but before we go into the main events, we will just be having a brief introduction of why we are here and what we are doing. Now, this interview practice session is a 3-day event to just practice and to prepare for interviews, because I realized that many people are armed with the theoretical knowledge of how to prepare for interviews, how to answer questions and all, but they do not have the practical knowledge. So that's why this is here. So the first day, which is today, we'll be having the theoretical parts. Okay, how do we prepare for interviews? What tips do we need to know? What things do we need to know about interviews? What should we expect? And then tomorrow, that's Saturday and Sunday, we'll be having the mock interviews with our facilitators. So two of them are already here. Praise is here and Mr. Andrew, they are here too. I would have said let's give a round of applause for them, but let's just do it in the comment section. Let's welcome them. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for being a part of this. Praise, thank you, Mr. Andrew. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Wendy, good evening. You're welcome, Wendy. Good evening. Thank you so much. Thank you too for joining. Please still share the link. We are live. Still share the link to your group chats, to the group chat if you are on the group chat. Then share it to your status too that we are live and we've started already. Compassion Oyibo, thank you for joining. Say good evening, everyone. Good evening to you too. Good evening to you too. Before we have the Q&A session, I just want our facilitators to introduce themselves for a while, just who they are. I know, yes, we've seen their bios, but who are they? So, Mr. Andrew, please, can you go first? Just a brief introduction of who you are so we are familiar with you.
Okay, guys. Good evening, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you're watching. And I want to say a big thank you to Omontese for making this possible. It's such a honor to be here, and I'm really excited that she could really sit down and think of every other person. You know, a lot of people go through challenges, and in that challenge, they are not able to see what benefit can come out of it for others. But you know, having been interviewed herself, she saw that okay, there's so much that she did not know, and then she then thought about the thousands and millions of people out there who would be experiencing the same thing, and then she thought to organize this. And going before that, she's a team member at Going Before That, and we are happy to be here partnering with her to make sure that this is possible for you, possible for every other person. So we're enjoying you to take the time to share this link with as many university students, as many young persons that you know that this would benefit. I'm sure this would benefit them. So my name is Andrew Bineraka, the founder of Way Before the Africa, where we curate learning experiences for university students and young people, right? We have a social learning community where people can network, build relationships. And also we have the academy arm where people pay to be mentored for a period of time. And I also have a one-on-one mentorship program that goes for 50,000 for selected persons who believe so much in what they are capable of doing, and they sign up to be a part of that experience. So I'm happy to be here. There's so much to say about myself and what I do, but I think that suffice to say that I'm excited to be here. I'm excited that Omotese is doing this, and I'm excited to have Praise and the other speakers, join us here today. Thank you very
Thank you
much.
so much, sir. Thank you. You've said what I wanted to say later. You already said it, but thank you so much, sir. Um, Let me just give you guys a story, a story. Now, in 2020, that was when I met Mr. Andrew. Okay, not met physically, but that was when I knew about him. And I would say, and I'm always saying that my journey into personal development started, like the foundation started from way before the Africa, which is through Mr. Andrew. Like most of the skills I know, most of the knowledge I know, most of the things I know about soft skills, about developing myself, about personal development, it started from Mr. Andrew. So you see how they call it full circle. I'm so excited that he's here, that he's doing this, and we are partnering with Going Before Africa. Thank you so much, sir. Helena, good evening. It's a great opportunity to be here. It's so great to have you here too, Helena. Nice to meet you. Thank you for joining. Please don't forget, keep sharing the link with others so they can join. Yes, there will be a recording of. It's still important. It's still better to have life experience. Yes. So, Praise, if you can just introduce yourself for a minute before we start.
Hi everyone, and am I very audible?
Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
All right, thank you very much. So my name is Praise Ogunleke, and I'm very excited to be here. First of all, I want to appreciate the organizers of this program for this opportunity. I think it's a very thoughtful initiative they've put together, and I'm sure that this is going to be impactful for a lot of people. So I've spent the past 5 years working on various social impact projects, especially the ones that are related to promoting access to healthcare information and services in underserved communities in Nigeria, and also the ones related to youth empowerment. So I'm also the founder of Quest Consulting. Basically, what we do as Quest Consulting is to provide consulting services to people that are trying to get jobs and all of that, or trying to get opportunities. We also equipping youth with relevant skills, information, and resources to prepare them for the future of work. So aside from all of that, I really love to meet new people. I also love to watch interviews during my free time. So I'm very, very excited to be here. And I'm sure we're going to have an amazing time together.
Okay, guys. So we just go right into what we had planned for you today while we await our host to get on the call. If you can hear me, I want you to type yes, I can. Yes, I can. Yes, I can. If you can hear me, just type yes, I can. And I would like for you to ready your questions because I know you would have a lot of questions. So the last there was a time I did a quick training on interview, some of the questions that you get asked when you go for an interview. And also, okay, you can. Okay, she's back with us. So Omo.
Oh, okay. I think network took me out. I did not hear the last part of what Praise said. So, but thank you so much, Praise, for joining, and thank you for agreeing to be a part of this. Now, I gave a story of how I knew Mr. Andrew. Now, how do I know Praise? Or how I met, not met, but how I know him. I think it was still 2020, but later part of 2020, 2021, he organized an event. Forgotten the title, but I knew it had a yellow flyer, but I can't remember the exact title, but I knew it was about undergraduates. So I joined, and then that's how I knew him. And then I discovered that he was a medical student too, and involved in a lot of social impact projects while still excelling at being a medical student. And that is one thing I admire so much about him. So thank you so much, Praise, for agreeing to be a part of this. I am so excited to have you here. Okay, now we've had introductions from our facilitators, our trainers. Thank you so much, guys. I'll still say it. Please keep on sharing the link with others. Keep on sharing the link so they can join. Okay, now the first question that we'll be asking a question. This session is just basically to prepare for interviews, how to prepare, what to expect from an interview. Now, the first question we'll be asking, how do I prepare for an interview? I know, yes, it's basic, but it's a question that needs attention. Like, okay, maybe what are the things I need to put in place to say, oh, I've prepared for this interview? Whether it's a live interview session, whether it's for a job or it's for a fellowship. Praise, I understand that you served as the Millennium Campus Fellowship, the campus director. Now, I know there must have been a video interview before you were selected. So I just want to, from your own end, I would understand, like, would like to know how to prepare for an interview for fellowships like that. Then if Mr. Andrew can answer the question from the place of how to prepare for an interview, like for jobs. I hope the question is clear.
Yeah, very clear.
All right. Thank
Yes.
you.
Yes.
Okay, so who would go first? Okay, I think Praise, you can go first. All right.
All right. Thank you very much. So, how do you prepare for an interview, especially for fellowship, an opportunity, and all of that? I think this is a very intelligent question because I like to see an interview as you going to fight a battle, right? And I feel like before you go fight a battle, it's just wise that you prepare for the battle that you're going to fight. And also it's very important that you sharpen your weapons as much as possible. So what do you need to do, to prepare for, like, how do you prepare for such interviews in practical terms? Number one thing is you need to do research, right? You need to do research. Now, when I'm talking about research, I mean you need to research the fellowship or the organization that is awarding that opportunity, right? So, for instance, if you're applying for a role of a campus director, it doesn't even have to be Millennium Fellowship. It could be any fellowship, it could be any opportunity, right? What you want to do is to research that fellowship. Now, every fellowship, every organization always, don't let me say always, but I mean, most of the ones that I've seen, especially if they are global, they usually have their core values, right? So you want to know what exactly do they stand for? What exactly are they trying to do? What exactly have they done before? What are the things they've achieved before? What are their past achievements like? Now, when you do all of that, what that does is that it gives you a very good grasp of what the organization stands for and what the organization is also looking for. Because most of the time, what informs what the organization or the company is looking for or the fellowship is looking for is what they stand for. So you want to know what exactly they stand for. What are the core values? So for instance, for Millennium Fellowship, their core values are humility, empathy, and inclusion, right? So it means that at every point in time when you're answering questions, you want to ensure that you're slotting those things in, right? Now, there's something in literature that they always say. I'm very sure many of us here must have heard the popular phrase "show, don't tell," right? So it doesn't exactly mean that you're going to be showing them that you're going to be telling them that you've done this, you've done that, but you can show all of those things. You can demonstrate humility while responding to their questions, or demonstrate or give them a scenario where you've demonstrated humility. Just try to like slot in things that would that will make them see that you actually align with the core values or with the kind of values that they stand for. That is extremely important. So what do they do? That's number one. What are their core values? That's number two. So for instance, what do they do? It could be that they're basically just trying to build build the African continent, this and that. What exactly do they do, right? It could be that they're trying to reduce the what's it called, the spread of. They're trying to reduce the spread of let's say HIV, right, in Africa. That could be something that they do, right? So, and then you now ask, okay, what are their core values? Then when you know their core values, then you ask, what are the kind of things they've done before? What are their past achievements? Now, how you get to know this is by going through their reports. Most of these global organizations, global fellowships, they usually have reports, right? Yearly reports. So what you want to do is that you want to go through their reports. So when you go through their reports, you're going to have a good grasp of the kind of things they've done before, and it's going to also inform the kind of what's it called, the kind of questions that it's going to inform how you're going to answer the questions that they ask you. So that's very critical, right? Another thing that is very important is that you have to research the role that you're applying for. So, for instance, if you're applying for the role of campus director, for instance, I mean, it's a leadership position, right? So, one thing that is advisable to do is to reach out to people that have done it before, right? Usually, when you become campus director for the Millennium Fellowship or even any let me use the Millennium Fellowship now. So if you become campus director for the Millennium Fellowship, for instance, now when you are, there's usually an onboarding session for the campus directors, and there's usually documents that they give them, right? So when you go through documents, I remember then I also got that document. So when you go through the documents, basically what you see in the document is the roles, like what you're expected to do as campus director, like what they expect you to do as campus director. So if you reach out to someone that's done it before, the person most likely should have the document. So because of that, you can go through the document even before the interview, go through it, know what exactly they are looking for, because I mean, from the rules, you can tell what exactly they are looking for. So that would, inform how you answer their question. So number one thing I said, you have to research the company, or sorry, the fellowship or the organization that you're trying to get a role at. They have to research the role as well, like what exactly is expected of you in this role, right? Another thing that I think I want to mention is, for every time you ask a question, don't respond in very clear terms, and respond in very practical terms, right? So, for instance, if you're asking about your leadership, you don't want to tell them how you're passionate about leadership, how you're passionate about this. You want to, and you don't want to tell them that you've led this and that. You want to, in a way, like take them through something that you've done before that demonstrates leadership, right? So, and also you want to like speak using data and statistics, right? You want to use data and statistics. So, for instance, you could say that I'm just trying to give an example now. You could say that, okay, like you led a team of 10 volunteers to work on an AMR project, for instance, at this maybe like across 6 states in Nigeria for a period of 3 months. Like I'm already using statistics. I talk about volunteers because like metrics are very important, right? So I talk about like I led a team of 10 to work on this project. So you mentioned the particular project across this number of states and over a period of 3 months. That way you're already demonstrating leadership, right? But then I also like advise that you use the star approach. So what was the situation at hand, right? What exactly were you like? What was the situation that led to leadership? Then you talk about the task, and then you talk about what you did exactly, and then you talk about the results that you achieved at the end of the day. Now, I think I need to emphasize this, that what is most critical here is the result that you were able to achieve at the end of the day, right? So it's not exactly about what you did. They want to see that you're result oriented, even as an individual. So you want to really focus on the results, right? Not exactly the task or the things that you did. So I think I'll just pause here. I don't know how many minutes I have, so I think I'll just pause here. And if there are other things I need to provide
Thank you.
clarity
Thank
to
you so much, Luis. Thank you. In a way, you've already started answering the other questions that I had, but thank you so much. Mr. Andrew, over to you. He has come from the point of fellowships and other youth opportunities. Then, yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. I think one thing I like specifically about what he has shared is the STAR approach, right? The STAR approach. And I'm going to share a story. I'm going to share a story. So I had a friend referred me for a job, and so just a little background, right? The reason why I'm very excited about this topic today is because I have like countless practical experiences. Number one, I often say that I have never had to take up my CV and go look for a job. Often what happens is someone recommends me, I walk in for an interview, and then either I have the job or either I'm bargaining for something much more than what they are offering. So I think there was an experience I had where I was late for the interview. I had to stop somewhere to speak, and then after that, I was going to go for that interview. And when I showed up at the interview, I saw so many people, right? I saw so many people. I saw some really matured people because that time I was just coming out of university and all of that. I was not as chubby as I am right now. So I saw a lot of people. I was the last person, so they interviewed everybody, and I was left. And the man came out and looked at me and said, "Ah, you're just coming." I say, "Yes, sir." He said, "Okay, come in." And then I went in. He read, because it's a two-way interview. There's the written, and then there's the oral, where you have a conversation with them. So he read what I had written, and he said it was really interesting that they really had to see me. If not, they would have asked me to go because I came late. And so we got into the conversation, we're talking, and then we bargained. We're talking so much about uh, what value would you bring to the organization. We're asking questions like, what is different about you compared to every other person that we've interviewed? And then I started to talk about that's why I'm really particular about the STAR approach, right? I started to talk about my experience, right? Starting with the situation at hand, the task, the action I took, and then the result, right? So I shared my experience starting an organization on campus, seeing that students, did not possess what it takes to thrive after school. And being that I had a first-hand experience, I shared that. And then I shared what was needed to be done, right? Expose the students to skills, to conversations, to communities that would help them grow. And then we took action, and then I shared the result. And when I was done talking, he said, "Okay, awesome, awesome." He now asked me a question. He said, "We are looking for someone who would work 7 days a week." And I told him I cannot work on Saturdays and Sundays, that my job doesn't require me to be there all the time. Like, the job doesn't require me to be there all the time. If we have clear expectations, I hit the clear expectations, we are good to go. And he kept insisting on Saturday and Sunday. And I said I couldn't. But because of how well I did in the interview, he was willing to create another opportunity for me to be retained. And so he asked me that, okay, since it's very important that we have you Saturdays and Sunday, and it seems like we cannot, what other way can you contribute value to this organization? And guess what? I just shared my volunteering experience working with an NGO, because the company I was interviewing with was an NGO. And I shared my experience with him, and then he said, "Oh, awesome, that they would really like to work with me." I ended up working with them as a consultant rather than an employee, right? Now, I shared that experience to say something about preparing for an interview. The first thing I did that helped me in that conversation was that I had already checked them online, right? I saw that their social media was poor. I saw that their website was poor. I saw that there were no clear call to action. And then when I was talking to them, being that I have experience working with NGOs, I just shared that, okay, a lot of people like to give their money to NGOs when they find a story that they can connect with. And I was sharing that, and also sharing that I've seen their social media, I've seen their Instagram, I had researched them, right? So because of that singular reason, because of that extra time I just took to check their social media, to check their website, it scored me an added point, right? So it is very important that, like the first speaker said, I know that's for when you're going abroad or you want to do volunteering engagements with international organizations or even local organizations and all of that. But in a job interview, it applies, right? When you're applying to a company, it applies. You need to ask questions, because even the kind of words that you will choose in expressing yourself should in some way, reflect the organization, right? The information you are giving, the data you are giving should be relevant to the organization. Another thing that you would want to do is, as much as you have researched the organization, you want to ensure that the responses you're going to be giving are solution oriented. So for instance, someone is asking you, so basically, so that I don't stretch the conversation so long, just make sure that you are prepared before the interview. And how do you prepare? Research the organization, research their core values, research all the things that makes up the organization. And if it's possible, do not meet the interviewer for the first time. I'll leave that for later, right? So that's what I just have to share. I hope you got value. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. Do not be the interviewer for the first time. Sir, you will come and explain what that means. So it's not everybody that understands. Please, before we finish, you will have to explain what that means, please. Let's not have any suspense. Let's not do part 2. Come back another time. Let's not do next episode next week. Let's just finish it and finish it here. But thank you so much, sir, for that. I really, one thing that connects, because it's not like the same thing, but basically the same foundation. Do your research, use the STAR method. Make sure you are aware of whatever organization that you are either volunteering, applying for a job, applying for a leadership position. Do your research about them and use the STAR approach in answering questions. Thank you so much. Now, for the next question, is somehow, in a way, you both have somehow answered it in the first question, but I would just like that to expand on it a bit. What are the interviewers looking for in your answers, in your responses, or in the interviewee, or in the job applicant, or in the leadership position applicants, in the volunteer? What exactly are they looking for, and how can you, let's say, be that person? But what are they looking for?
So before I go right into that, there's something I want to tell every university student or every young person who is currently on this call, right? There's one thing I want you to do for yourself. It's something that I did. It's something that a good number of persons that I know, right? It's something that they did, even right from the university. What you want to do is, whatever job that you think you are going to be doing in the next 5 months, 10 months, 1 year, 2 years, whatever job that you think you're going to be doing, go online right now, find a job description of that particular role, right? And begin to ask yourself, begin to tick off the skill sets, the values, both soft skills, digital skills, technical skills. Tick all of those things and see how well you're prepared for that role. And if you find that you are lagging in any way, you set a target for yourself to learn those skills, right? That's basically how you start off a career, right? You pick up a particular career path and say, okay, these are the necessary skills, certifications, the experiences that is needed. And then you begin to volunteer your way through the ropes, right? Now, in answering that question, what is it that interviewers are looking for? Interviewers are basically looking for somebody who can do the job, right? And I want us to demystify a lot of things. Interview is not just for the interviewer, right? Interview is for both parties to decide. It's like dates. When you are dating somebody, when you tell this person, let's go out on a date, and you go out, you are hanging out, you are basically trying to know the person the same way the other person is trying to know you. Maybe you've done your research, you've checked online, you've checked everywhere about the organization, and all that you are seeing about the organization is the good. And you want to find out really, maybe you do not have access to anybody working in the organization. The interview is an opportunity to ask those questions, right? The interview is an opportunity to ask those questions, especially difficult questions. You don't go to an interview feeling defeated already, or you go to an interview and then you are looking like somebody that they should help. That kind of, even the courage There's no confidence. Even if you are confident, the conversation is not showing that you're a valuable person, those kind of things. It sells you short, right? One thing you want to do is prepared. Whereas you're prepared, know what their expectations are. Whereas you know what their expectations are, have questions about genuine things that you want to find out. And don't be scared to ask those questions. As a matter of fact, if you are able to ask those questions, right? Okay, the last job I got recently, I went in for, somebody recommended me, and then I went in for the interview. It was more or less like a chat. And we talked before we said anything about salaries. She just kept going on and on about what she wanted, right? And what did I do? I sat there taking notes. When I was done taking notes, I shared some ideas with her, right? After sharing the ideas, she was excited. I said, okay, let's go. Then I asked, how much do you want to be paid? I know how much they pay people in that role, right? But I doubled it. And I made a joke about it, about doubling it. And she was like, she cannot pay. But guess what? I got the job. I am being paid handsomely for that role, right? But imagine if I went into that for that interview and my demeanor, right, is one of someone who is needing help. Even it will even reduce the value I will add to that conversation, because it's about your mindset. When you go into an interview with the wrong mindset, you're going to say the wrong things. You are going to portray the wrong emotions, and then it's going to sell you short, right? So the interviewers are looking for people who are confident. The interviewers are looking for people who can solve problems, not only people that can identify problems, people who can solve problems. If they, for example, they put a situation before you and say, okay, how would you respond in such a situation? The first thing you should be thinking from the point of solution, that you are providing solution to that problem, not that you are trying to amplify the problem and trying to explain the problem to make it more bogus, just so they know that you can speak English. No, the solution. What is the solution to the problem? And also, if it's possible, if you can note down some problems that they currently have and make it a conversation during the interview, it will sell you some good points, right? Another thing is, of course, dress well. Dress well. Dress well. And know that your interview doesn't start when you, especially for physical interviews, your interview doesn't start when you enter into the office and you are having that conversation. Your interview starts from the gate, when you're interacting with the gate man, when you walk into the office, when you are being attended to by the receptionist. Everything is scoring you or deducting your points. So that's just a few things I would share. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for answering that. And that point that I talked about on the finding the job description of maybe your career in the next 5 years or 3 years or something that you're looking towards having, and then trying to get those skills. Yeah, I shared it before. And that's one of the knowledge I've gotten from Way Before, being part of Way Before the African, and also a participant at the Virtual Campus Store. So please do that. Your future self will thank you. And Praise, please, do you have anything to add to this question about what the interviewers are looking out for?
All right. Thank you very much. So, yeah, I was just going to say that I think the most important thing that the interviewers are looking for is someone that can solve their problems, really. And I think that it's really important to start thinking of the kind of problems that they have and the potential solutions that you could profile to them, profile to those problems. So, and everything really starts from when you start researching the company, right? So I think that that's like the most important thing. They want someone that can solve their problems. That is extremely important. And I think one thing that you can also do is to maybe talk about a time where maybe you've solved a problem that is similar to that and how you were able to approach it, right? so that you're showing them that you actually what you're talking about, and you've done something that is similar to that. I think that's extremely critical. Another thing that I would like to say is I think that it's also important that you really, really like not just study the company, right? But also the company or the organization, but also be familiar with the trends, like the industry trends. So, for instance, if it's like health care related, like what trends, what trends have you been able to identify in healthcare? Those things would really come in handy by the time you're answering your question, answering their questions, right? So you want to be familiar with the trends because that would tell them that you're actually a very valuable candidate, and you have, you like you're aware, you know what you're talking about, and you are familiar with the industry, you're familiar with the sector, right? I think that's also something that is very critical. And the last thing I would say is, I think it also really helps to maybe rehearse answers to some of the commonest interview questions that they ask. For instance, everybody knows that. They ask questions like, "Oh, tell us about yourself," right? Because sometimes you think most of the time, it feels like you already know the answer to the question, and it's just a very, very simple question until you get there, and then you start to mumble words together, and then it begins to feel like you don't know what you're talking about and all of that. So, I think it really, really helps to rehearse some of those things, right? If they ask you, tell us about yourself, what exactly are you going to say? How are you going to say it? I think it really helps if you could get a friend, just answer, just articulate those things, so that by the time they're asking you in the real interview, it's not going to be a problem for you, right? Questions like, tell us about yourself. They could also ask you questions like, what is your greatest strength? What is your greatest weakness? Another thing that Miss Andrew talked about the other time, I think I'd like to like emphasize on it. When he was talking about you not meeting the interviewer for the first time, I think that most of the time, I think it's a very wise decision, or it's a very wise path to take, right? Sometimes, of course, you might not exactly know the person that is going to interview you, right? Maybe because the HR department, they have a lot of people doing interviews and all of that. But there's a way you could just know, like, because the interviewer is going to be speaking in line with the company's values and the culture, right? So when you already have a very good grasp of what the company stands for, by the time the interviewer starts asking you questions and all of that, it's going to be like a familiar thing, right? So you could use LinkedIn. Sometimes you could even check on LinkedIn, check for the exact company. There's something called Boolean search, right? Check for the exact company. Check for maybe like people in the HR department, something, that way you'll be able to like know their interest. Because I think there was a time a friend of mine did an interview, and he was telling me how that what spurred the interest of the interviewer was the fact that at some point he started talking about Africa. And it was later, after he got
I think there's a bit of network lag. Please, praise whenever the network is restored, please, you must finish the story. Okay. You're laughing. You must finish the story. Okay, because of time, I think when he comes back, he'll finish the story and the question. So moving over to the next question. Thank you so much, sir. I would say it at every point to thank you. Thank you for answering this question. And like what Praise said about like practicing before, if you can get a friend to practice, that's like the main essence of this, of what we are doing. Tomorrow and next tomorrow, the mock interviews where you would come, you would have access to someone that you can practice with and get one-on-one feedback. Yes, so that's where it started from. That's the main cook, but that's the main thing. Yeah. So okay, moving on to the next question. So Mr. Andrew, what what are some tips that you have? I know you've answered this, but if you can list more tips on answering questions in an interview? Like, you know that thing they say, don't look at the person's eyes. Should I look at the person's face? Should I look at the person's eyes? Is it a sign of respect, disrespect? Should I stand up? Should I sit down? So what tips do you have in answering common interview questions?
Okay, so so the thing about interviewers is that they can sense when someone is not confident, right? They can sense when somebody is not confident. So if you're not confident, they will see it in your face. They will see it in your expressions and all. Okay, someone is asking a very, very important question, but we're going to get to that, right? So for instance, let's leave interview for a minute, right? Omotese, not to be forward, right? When a guy walks up to you and then tries to get your number, right? And he's talking to you and he's not looking you in the face. He's probably looking at his shoes and saying, hi, my name is so and so. I really would like to get to know you. I don't know if you can give me your number. What would be your response?
Why are you putting me on the spot? On Global TV.
You don't have to
Global
answer.
TV. But I get the point. But it's
go ahead.
Like it's a sign of, but looking on the ground, is there fire on my face? Look at me in the face.
Exactly.
Like,
so that answers your question.
Yeah.
That answers your questions, right? Look me in the face. Let's get to know ourselves. Let's interact, right? See, some people can get jobs just not like they have the skill set, but just because they are confident, right? Because they are confident and they are able to articulate their ideas. Right? Because they can. Some people are asking some really amazing questions. We'll get to it, please. So when you are in an interview and they're asking you questions, you have to look them in the face and answer your questions, right? Smile sometime, as in be free. I went for an interview and the conversation was no longer about the interview. It was now more about the industry, about new ways that people can infiltrate the industry. That's how to go in for an interview. I know that, yes, there are some persons struggle with it. Some persons would have to learn by doing. That's why it's really exciting. I'm really excited about this very 3-day program, because a lot of people are going to practice for the first time, right? They'll be asked questions and they'll be getting feedback, right? It's not every time you see an opportunity like this to ask questions, and then when you answer, someone will give you feedback for interview and one employee. Do you get? So it's very exciting. It's very important that a lot of university students practice this over and over again. If possible, have like a redo of this, like several editions of this, so that people can get familiar with, the kind of questions that are being asked and how to answer those kind of questions. Be confident, right? See, you're not a problem. You get? You're not a problem. You're a solution to a problem. That is why you were shortlisted for that interview. So when you go in for that interview, own it, right? They ask you, tell me about yourself. Just know that when they say, tell me about yourself, they mean, give me the information that is relevant to deciding whether you are the right person for this job or not. Any information that will not contribute to that, leave it out. They're asking you, tell me about yourself. They don't ask that you tell them that you are the first of 7 children, or you are the only girl in your family, or you are born in so day, or you were born in so year, or you were born in the night, or your mother is this, or you are a single mother. And they're not asking you all of those information, because There's no way those information will contribute to impacting that organization, except you have identified that this organization has a bias, because there are ways to go about it. For example, let me give you an example. If you're applying for the role of community manager, right? Listen very clearly. You're applying for the role of community manager to an organization that is into helping single mothers. You see it? When you are now pitching yourself, right, you are going to highlight that information. But the reason why you are highlighting that information is to tell them that you have learned empathy by being so you know the right words to use when you are communicating to the people that they are passionate about. You see the intelligence in that kind of response. That is how to think. So if you have a personal experience that will further buttress why you are the right candidate, you can share that. Okay, so you know what? Let's just answer questions. The questions that they're asking. What do you think?
Okay. All right, no problem. I don't know if Praise is here, so you can finish up. Then we'll start answering the questions. Praise, are you back yet?
Yeah, Praise is here.
Okay.
Yes,
Praise, welcome. I think network cut you off for a while.
So you're supposed to finish up something you were saying, something very interesting that I'm about to say is very keen on hearing. So I'll just let you go ahead.
Yeah, thank you very much. What was the last thing you heard me say?
We're talking about how your friend had like an interview and they were talking about trends and Nigeria or Africa.
Okay, yeah, great. So yeah, so I was saying that so he realized that after getting the opportunity, he eventually realized that the person who interviewed him was very particular about Africa, like the African continent, right? Now, there's a way that if you like try to do some research. Now, the peaceful thing about doing research, right, is that it leads you to an array of resources, right? So for instance, if you start by researching the company, right, from just researching the company, you can get to know the owner of the company, right? Because maybe like by the time you're going through your LinkedIn page and all of that, you see at a point maybe when they wished their founder a happy birthday and all of that. So from the happy birthday posts, you're able to like, go to the founder's profile, look through our experiences, look through like our posts and all of that. So from that, you can identify the consistencies and see that, okay, like this person, the owner of the organization or the organization itself, like you're very, very particular about this kind of things, right? So when you know that, it should really help you to really like, slot in some of those things while answering your questions, right? Another thing that I think I think I think is also very important to do or to take note of is that you should also try to know the competitors of the company that you're applying to. Yes, because when you know the competitors of the company that you're applying to, or the organization, or maybe like like the organizations that do something that is similar, that way you can now compare and see what they could do better too. Because trust me, every company is trying to like do something to like outshine or be better than the people that are competing with them. So that way, that is going to like inform the kind of responses that you give, and it's going to like help you to structure your response in a way that it also addresses some of those very important things, right? So maybe there's something that an organization is doing better than them, so you could like talk about how they could get to that point where they are better than like their competitors and all of that. So I'm just trying to say that when you demonstrate that you have like the knowledge, right, and you're able to like solve like problems practically, they are really, really going to be interested in you. And like Mr. Andrew said, I think the confidence is extremely important. But the thing with confidence, like you said, like I personally feel like confidence comes from competence. When you can't be confident about what you don't know. you can't be confident about what you're ignorant about. So when you're very competent, or when you're very knowledgeable about the role, the company, the industry trends, the competitors, and all of that, your confidence is just going to shine through. And if you don't have that knowledge, that's why like investing like good time in research and getting knowledge about those things is very important. If you don't have that knowledge, there's a way that they can tell as well. So I think I'll just pause it there. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much. Actually, thank you so much, Praise, for answering that. And most of what you said, like, they are just in line with what Mr. Andrew has shared. And thank you so much. So that was
Very
actually like the
powerful.
yes.
Very powerful.
And I was going to say that Mr. Andrew said.
Sorry to cut you, Omotese. We should bring Praise again for another, perhaps for our skills for the future
for work conference. Okay. All right, no problem. We'll discuss that later. Thank you. And there was something that Mr. Andrew said, that Praise said, that I wanted to say. But that thing about confidence. I don't know if you've been in school or you've been in an exam period. Yeah, you see somebody moving stuff with such confidence that moving toxic, something that is wrong with such confidence that you are sure of the answer, you'll be doubting yourself. Wait, are you sure? Wait, the person will be so sure. For later do not discover but at that moment the person was confident, and if you are not confident in your own answer, you just have believed the person. So that thing about confidence is really very important. Thank you. So that was the last question before we to move over to the common interview questions and how to answer them. But people already asked that.
Allow that international speaker to drop her point.
So please, you have a twin. You have your own there, please. I beg you, please. So sorry about that. It's not time for the international speaker to shine yet. It's not time for the international speaker to shine yet. There's still a level of preparation. She needs to still do research and get the knowledge first. But so we're to answer the question on common interview questions and how to answer them. That was the last question. But we already had some questions in the comment section, and we'll be going through that right now. Okay. Ibukun Adeyo says, what am I expected to say when I am asked to introduce myself? And what is expected of us to say when they ask us how we are going to contribute to the growth of their organization? All right. So who would be answering that? Mr. Andrew, can you help with that?
Okay, so from the story I shared when I was talking about my experience going for an interview and even going late, I think I'll just retell a bit of that story. So I had worked with an NGO, and I often used to see how that the people who curate content for the NGO, the way they tell the story of the NGO, if you would want to give you want to give to the project and all of that. And I see how that they raise funds for their project and all, retelling their stories and all of that. And so when I went for that interview and I had checked their websites, checked their social media, so that you're an NGO and you're not telling your stories on social media. You're not even, there's nowhere I can go to see all that you've done previously. So that just became my strong point, right? And so for your question, you say, how do I introduce myself and what is expected of us? Now, the later part of your question is talking about contributing to the growth of the organization, which I have just answered, right? You have to identify by way of research what are the areas that this organization is lagging. Like Praise rightly said, do your research. Even by checking out the organization online, by also researching the competitors, you're able to see ways, maybe something that the competitors are doing better that you can just lift and use in advising this organization. Now, for the earlier part of your question, you say, how do you introduce yourself? Now, because you have done your research, right? Because introductions change with the people that you are talking to. The way I introduced myself to, so I met this lady who was a web designer, she's a techie, and she was a married woman with a child, and I was like, I was impressed. So when I walked up to her, we started the conversation. I did not introduce myself. I said something that allowed her to talk about herself, right? I said, I heard that people do this, you do that, you do this, you do that. And she said, yes, that's true. She started now telling me everything, telling me about her experience. Now, from what she was saying about herself, I found that, okay, there's a better way to introduce. I cannot just jump and start introducing myself. No, there are a set of things that we say that will further attract her to me, especially attract her to me in such a way that she wants to buy from me. That's the idea. So how do you introduce yourself to an organization in such a way that they are attracted to wanting to have you in their space? You must first identify something about the organization by way of research. Just like me, I asked her questions, she started to talk. And from all that she was saying, I found a better way to, I introduced myself as the founder of an organization that trains people on different skills, because I knew that in some way she's going to need me. And when I was done introducing myself, as if I just predicted, she said, that she wants to learn how to write. And I said, no, we cannot bring you on the community because you're an adult, you're not a university student. But I can create an accountability program for you, because what you need is not training. What you need is somebody to follow you up, right? So you see, that is how to introduce yourself. Find out about if you don't know about the organization, you introduce yourself anyhow, and you shoot your leg in the foot. Research the organization and ask yourself, what are the things that this organization need in a candidate? What are the things that I have that is valuable to this organization? And begin your introduction from there. So if you say, tell me about yourself, for example, if I'm applying for a role of a community manager and you tell me about yourself, I will tell you that for the past 6 years, I have helped individuals build communities around their products, reaching over 20,000 people cumulatively for 5 years. 20,000 people. If I tell anybody who's looking for a community manager that I have worked with 20,000 people, managed communities of over 20,000 people, the first question that will come to their mind is, wow, that you had, no, because it's not easy to work with people. Oh God. It's not easy to work with people, one. Two, it's not easy to work with people of diverse background, because these 20,000 people I was talking about, it's not just Nigerians. Do you understand? So because of that, they are more interested. I've drawn them in just by the way I introduce myself. But imagine if I go and I'm introducing myself as I'm the second child of 7. My mom and my dad are from Edo State. I finished on the University of Benin. I studied English and literature. Who English and literature help? But if I'm able to craft all of that in such a way that it's compelling and it gets them to they sit on, oh, wow, that's interesting. Tell us about that. Sometimes you even see that they will ask you a follow-up question to want to probe, to know how you did what you said you have done. Once they do that, just know that you have drawn them in, right? So that's my answer to your question. So another thing, perhaps what you want to do is you want to research all the organizations that you are interested in and answer that question as if you are being interviewed by that organization, right? So I'm just going to hand over to Praise to add salt, pepper, and Maggi. Hope I'm not the only one here. Okay, while we wait for them, we'll just jump to the next question. So the next question is from, I'm about to say review yourself, stop hiding. Anyways, the next question is from Mr. Praise. Would you like to talk on the other question?
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now. Okay. I don't know if maybe you have something to the question that I just spoke on.
Okay, yeah, thank you very much. I think he has said, the major things. I think what I would just like to add is when you're asked to introduce yourself, right? Because I think because like I've also kind of like interviewed. Maybe I should just quickly tell the story. So I think that was 2 years ago, 2020, this is 2024, that was 2022. So we wanted to organize the first TEDx event in my school. And I was part of the organizers. And because of that, we wanted to when we're trying to recruit our volunteers, so we wanted to do something different. So instead of just putting out a link, to a Google form so that people could fill and apply and all of that, we decided to, interview students physically. Why? Because we wanted them to like get familiar with, that kind of atmosphere. So like when they got the mail that they were supposed to like come for a physical interview, I knew some of them. So some of them were asking me like, what do I need to do? Like they were just really bothered and all of that. And I was really happy about it because that was what we're trying to achieve. We didn't want a situation whereby the first time they would get to have an interview was after school. We wanted them to like have like a similar experience even while in school. So we gave them like things to like dress code and all, just like if some few details, right? To just prepare them ahead of the interview, right? Now, so I now realize that anytime we like when we interview some of them, like anytime we ask the question, tell us about yourself, right? And I'm saying this because I want to believe that most people here, the bulk of the audience here, consists of students and young professionals, right? So I realized that some of them would say things like, I my name is this, I am from, they say their state of origin, I'm from this place in Akwa Ibom State, like start to talk about things that are unnecessary. Now that's where I'm going, right? When they say you should talk about, tell them about yourself. You don't say anything that is not necessary to the role or the company, right? So if you're saying things like you're from Akwa Ibom or you're from um, Owerri, like telling them that the village that you're from and all of that, those details are not necessary, right? So you want to avoid all of that because it really gives there's a way like it can put off the person that is interviewing you, right? Another thing that I want to emphasize is anything that is not exactly any skill, right, or any project that is not exactly or directly connected to the role or related to the company or the organization that you're applying to, you should not talk about it, right? So for instance, except you're talking about, I mean, when you're talking about, I'm still going to like give maybe like a structure that we could use and all of that, but you don't want to say, oh, my name is this, I like cooking, or I like to bake cakes, I like to, you don't want to tell them all of those things because as long as I mean, if you're saying you like to bake cake and all of that, as long as you're not applying to a catering company and all of that, I mean, that is not relevant to the role, right? For instance, if you're applying to be like a project manager, you're talking about how that you love cooking and all of that, it is not exactly relevant, right? So you want to like be wary of those kind of things. Now, what I would say is that number one, you say your name. My name is Praise Ogunleke. Over the past 3 5 years, I've worked in the healthcare space, particularly in fields related to antimicrobial resistance and non-communicable diseases. Right now, note that I mentioned my name, right, and after that, I talked about my interests, right. So I talked about how that I've worked in healthcare, but I didn't just talk about healthcare. I niched it down to the particular what's called I've worked on. Especially if it, for instance, if you're applying to a role that is not what's it called? For instance, you just maybe like you're applying to be a project manager, right? So you mentioning like the niche I worked in and all of that is not really like it's not going to affect you in a bad way. So I talk about that. Then you could talk about how that you have for instance, I have a drive for excellence, and because I know that this company or this organization is very has a reputation for rewarding excellence. I like that's why like I'm applying for the role of this and that. Now, this is what I'm trying to paint, right? As much as you're talking about yourself, you want to put in mind that it is not exactly you that they're interested. Like they're interested in you as it relates to, the organization, right? So you want to really put that in perspective as well, right? So when you're not done with that, you can maybe talk about maybe what you do outside work, so maybe like outside of work, before you go to that, I think you could also talk about maybe like your previous role yeah, maybe like where you worked before, right? So you could talk about, in my previous role at this and that, because that's another likely question that they could ask you, like during an interview, like why did you leave your previous role, right? So most of the time they even like want to ask that kind of question. So you could say that your previous role at this, company or this organization, you did this and this and this. Still, like we're still going back to the star approach. So you're talking about like the situation, you're talking about the task, the action, you're talking about the result, right? How that the solution that you provided was able to reduce, you're able to like reduce 20% of the operational costs, right? So that way you're already showing yourself as somebody that is valuable to the team, right? And after that, you could maybe talk about like your your like outside work experience, what you like to do, because even on your CV, like there's a part on your CV that has like something like that. Sometimes like personal, so there are people that when they're interviewing you, they just want to like know like other things about you, right? And that could be the connection point, right? Sometimes it could be the common ground. For instance, you could like to watch TED Talks, and your interviewer also like something like that, and before you know it, like you guys already talk about. Yeah, so I think that would be my contributions there. So about the second question, what's how you had value to the company, or how you add value? They could also ask in another way. They could say, "Oh, why should we hire you?" Right? So it's still like the same thing that they are trying to ask you. So number one thing is you want to talk about what is unique about you, right? So for instance, if you're applying for a role, maybe I'm using healthcare because I mean that's like my what's called. So you want to talk about what is unique about you. So if you're saying that you hold a degree in medicine and surgery, if that's the only thing you're saying, right? Have in mind that a lot of other people, a lot of people that are also doing that interview also hold that particular degree. So you want to talk about what exactly is unique about you, right? It could be your experience. That's number one. Another thing that you could talk about, it could be like maybe media features. Yeah, like for instance, you could talk about the fact that you've been featured in this. Newspaper, in this publication, in this magazine, in this. You've been able to like publish, a number of articles on this. Now, what that is doing is that you're telling them that you have a very good, what's it called? A very good reputation online, right? And you're already showing them that you're a very valuable person, right? So, for instance, I mean, if you have been featured by some newspapers before, I mean, they would begin to think about the fact that if they should hire you, right, it means you would like in a way give their brand or their company some publicity, right? Because you're already, in a way like you've been exactly. So I'll talk about like media features. You could talk about maybe some awards that you won, right? That that are relevant, maybe like some leadership awards and all that. Just talk about like what is unique about you, right? And like Mr. Andrew said, I think another thing that's very critical is you should have, from research, you should have been able to like identify some problems that you feel that they have or they would have, and also like talk about like real solutions, practical solutions to some of those problems. Yeah, so I think I'll just pause there. Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Praise, for that. You've answered not just one question, but like others
wow.
too together. Thank you. So, okay, I think we have another question from Ogene. Okay. Hi, name Mercy. How do I react when asked a question pertaining a topic I am completely ignorant about?
Hmm.
Hmm. I'm not the
Praise, where are you?
facilitator, so I cannot talk.
Okay, so usually your interviewer wants to see how you would respond in an uncomfortable when you're put in an uncomfortable position.
Okay.
So um, they'll ask you a question that you're not familiar with. Reason is another thing that can happen is they ask you that question, but you are poorly prepared, right? You're poorly prepared, perhaps because I know that there's this thing that we used to do then, that I used to do. So I just identify that there's a job I'm interested in, say for instance, social media management. I'll just go online and just be applying and be applying. And LinkedIn makes it very easy. You can just easy apply. You just click, bah, they'll send your link to them and all of that. So sometimes you get booked to an interview and then you are up for the interview. And then see interview now. They ask you questions, you cannot answer. Why? Because the industry, perhaps a question that is relevant to the industry or relevant to the niche, but you're not familiar with it, and so you get caught off guard, right? And that happens a lot. Some of the time, most of the time, is because they want to just test you to see how you respond when you are put in an uncomfortable position. And usually, if you ask me, I've not been in that kind of a situation, right? I won't say I've been in that kind of a situation. I've not been in that kind of situation, but if you're asked that kind of question, it boils down to how much information you have about your organization. One, how much, how much how much confident you are as a person. Because how would you normally respond when you are asked a question? Normally, that it's not an interview. You're just asked a question that you don't yet know, or you are totally ignorant of. If somebody asks you that question, just know that they're trying to test your confidence. And the best approach, or one of the ways to approach such a situation that I would recommend, is to talk about it in a way that relates to what you are familiar with.
Yeah.
For example, they ask you, let's use education for example, and they ask you about um, uh, neuro-linguistic programming, for example, neuro-linguistic programming, and you did education. Now, in language studies, right, there's a level that you go in language studies that takes you into that neuro-linguistic programming. So what that's another level that you're not familiar with. But you're in education and they've asked you this question. You shall know programming. You know what programming is, right? That is one word in that phrase. You know what programming is. You know what linguistic means. You know that they're talking about language. And they're talking about neuro, which is they're talking about the brain, right? But you're in education, right? Now, they ask you this question. You talk about programming, for example. They say in education, it's very important that we take into cognizance the kind of language we use to communicate our ideas, right? I may not particularly know how to respond to this question, but I do understand that with my background in education, I can research this question and get back to you as and when due. That's my own approach to that question. I've not been in such a situation, but trust me, when you ask me that kind of question and I don't know, it's very hard that I will not know, sir. But even if I don't know, I will find something that I know if you put three words together, I'll find one word that I know in it. And I will relate it to it. I will relate it to something that I'm familiar with. Chicken. But
that what you just said, Mr.
Just know that. Sorry, before you just know that one, your interviewer wants to test your confidence. Two, they want to test your willingness to learn, right? Your willingness to learn, right? You can even go as far as asking them to give you an idea of what they mean by that question. If you, I don't know if you've watched all these TV programs where they are giving children words to spell, and they will throw a word at the child. The child will say verb, verb or noun. They'll say noun.
Yeah.
They say use in a sentence. You use it in the sentence. Then as they are doing that, they now get an idea of the word and
I
they
get
begin to
too
spell that
familiar.
word. So you can ask questions, right? You never can tell why they are asking you that question. But I know that for sure. When they are asking you that question, it's probably to test your confidence or your willingness to learn, or that you're not ashamed to ask a question. Because really, an interview is about you getting to know getting to know the organization as well as them getting to know you. It's not like they are putting you on a hot seat and they are trying to just probe you and deal with you. It's a two-way street. They are talking, you are talking, and you are getting to know each other so that you can work better to help the organization achieve their own goals. So I hope I provided enough information for you. So, but I would like
Thank you.
hear Chris respond to that question.
No, what I need to say before praise comes up was that concept that you shared of using one word. Echoing. Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, I can. Loud and clear.
Oh, praise.
I think I
You
can
can't
hear
hear
you now.
me.
I can hear you now.
Okay, good. All right, thank you. So what I need to say before praise comes up was that concept you shared about using one word, like if you are familiar with one word, then use it to relate. In
Use
where
it
I
at
work,
your
where I study, it's called tying the goat to the tree.
use it only if you can risk the interview.
Please, but but what we do, like when we are asked questions in our medical exams, like the oral exams, they will tell you if an examiner asks you a question and you don't know, don't say I don't know. They'll say tie the goat to the tree. Okay, sir, you asked me a question on maybe hemoglobin synthesis. Okay, you don't know about hemoglobin synthesis, but you know about hemoglobin, you know about red blood cells, you know, okay, the red blood cells are they are the red blood. Hey God, almost you don't know, but the red blood cells are so blood cells in the body and they are red. You cannot use that to you know the meaning of hemoglobin, you know the meaning of this is not medical school, Mutesi, stop. But like what Mr. Andrew said, if you don't know, at least from what you know, use it to answer the question anyway. But praise over to you. How would you answer that question about being asked a question that you are completely ignorant about?
Yeah, so that's very interesting. Very, very interesting. So, number one, to be honest, I think, like Mr. Andrew said, just pray and work very hard to ensure that you're not caught in that kind of, personally, I don't think I've ever really been in that kind of situation, to be honest, if I'll be honest as well. But I was just about to say the exact thing that um you said, I mean, about how that in medical school, they always tell us that if they ask you a question, right, and you don't know, you don't just say, I don't know, right? You're going to answer the question in a way that, you start to tilt towards the things that you know, right? So, I mean, but that's why number one, it's very important that you're very, very vast, like you're very, very vast, so that even if it's just one sentence or two sentences that you can just cook immediately. So from there, you now start to talk about, you now start taking the what's it called, interviewer or the examiner to the things that so that at least it's always be like you're not saying anything or you're not because it is very important, like Mr. Andrew said, you have to still maintain your composure. Nothing must do your stizzle. So you want to ensure that you still maintain that composure, that confidence, as much as possible. But like I said, I think it's very important that you really do like enough research. You ask people that have been interviewed for such roles before or interviewed in such company or such organization before, so that you not be found totally clueless. right? But then when you find yourself in that kind of situation, ensure that you go from what you don't know and you start to tilt towards what you know, right? Next I'm going to say is that I mean, it's just like you're writing an exam. You will not always have the answers to all the questions, to be honest, and you will not always have 100%, right? But it's just like let me give a very good example. So in medical school, there's a way that, for instance, we're doing anatomy. So let's say we're doing our first MD. So there's a way they ask us every section. So for instance, they're going to ask us upper limb, lower limb. They're going to ask us thorax, abdomen, pelvis, perineum, and all of that. Now, if you're not able to answer the questions on upper limb and lower limb well, you want to ensure that when you get to your strong point, like you really prove that you like you scatter ground, you want to ensure that like you scatter ground. So there always be moments where there always be questions where when they ask you, you might not be able to say so much, right? But when it gets to the ones that you have to really prove that you know your stuff. Yeah. So I think that would just be it from my end.
Okay, so
Thank you so much.
somebody says, how do you maintain maximum composure and steeze
And without any trace
without
of anxiety and fear.
any
I know this person, Elijah. But let's just be formal and answer the question. Elijah is a man of composure and steeze. Don't mind him. This man, importer, expecter. But let's just answer the question for
I think
like how do you
we've
maintain that confidence
this
level?
question. Yeah, I think we've answered this question. We've talked about researching. We've talked about researching. We've talked about being competent, right? Being competent. Just know yourself, know your value, know what you bring to the table, even though we don't know what that table is made of. But just know yourself, right? So
Yes.
if you know yourself, you know your onions, right? You know the organization, you know the value you're going to contribute to that organization. I think that will basically help you to maintain maximum composure and ease without any trace of anxiety and fear. But of course, even when you feel agitated, right? You feel agitated, feel anxiety, you can even make a joke about it. It will shock you, right? You're in an interview and somebody interviews you, wow, I just feel put on the spot. And then you smile. Before you know it, you are good to go. You are firing down and they are feeling your vibe, right? So because we've talked so much about this, I want to highlight this question. And the reason why I'm highlighting this question, what to say? The reason why I'm highlighting this question is because we've talked. I talked when we started in the beginning. I said something. I said, go online, find jobs that you think you are going to do, perhaps maybe in the next 5 months, in the next 10 months, 12, 1 year, and like that. Just find those roles, right? And begin just itemize all the skill sets and all the set of experiences that you need to do that job. And begin in that period of time to acquire those set of experiences, whether volunteering. Now, let me tell you something. There's a brand I'm currently working with, right? That I am using. It's as if I'm using everything I learned from trying to start up going before that as a university student, right? I'm using everything I learned in the process to serve that brand. And now, when I started doing this thing for way before that, there was no Shingba inside. But from the experience, from the set of skills that I've learned, if I tell you the things that I'm doing for this brand, I can, if I'm serious, I can package it as a product and market it to an international organization that will pay me handsomely for it. You understand? Something I learned from just volunteering, helping people do stuff online and all that, right? So try as much as possible to get experiences, the things that you, even if you don't yet know what you want to do, right? Ask yourself, what am I studying in school? And what are the likely careers that are associated with this thing that I'm studying? And then also ask yourself, what are the things that I'm interested in, right? Research. When you find those things, you can even take. I'm going to put up a website. You can take a personality test, find out the things that you are inclined to, and then find careers around those areas and write out all the skill sets that are needed for that thing. all the certifications that are needed for that thing, all the set of experiences that are needed for that thing, and try as much as possible to maximize your time in school or out of school to acquire those experiences, to acquire those certifications, even if you don't acquire all, but acquire some, right? I did Scrum Master certification, not that's is it? Uh, I should did Scrum Master certification just because I'm interested in project management.
Yeah.
You get.
Yeah. But I think that certification that you did, I think it's just for formality because you've actually you already have the experience.
It's like your university degree. It's like your university degree. Right now, your university degree is just to get you in the door.
Yeah.
It's just so that people can relate with you and say, oh, this person went to school. That's what the university degree is for right now.
Yeah.
By the time it gets you in the door and they are interacting with you, that's when they will know your true value. Because people have gone to school, there are people who have gone to school, studied, they even came out first class. If you are interacting with them, you'll be shocked. They cannot even remember what they read. They shall know that they read it that time and they passed. So that's life. So all of those certifications and all of that is just for formality, so that people can say, okay, of the truth, this person actually has what it takes. But it's really what you know and what you're able to do that people interact with.
Yeah, what you've done. Yeah. And in a way, like one thing I'd like to point out is like the importance of volunteering. It's very important because with volunteering, it's like an unpaid job. It's actually unpaid. There are very few paid volunteering positions. But you are learning on the job. You are learning without somebody threatening to fire you. Because how would they fire somebody that is working for free? You are learning different skills, a variety of skills that you never thought you would learn. Maybe when you just newly entered school. Did I know I'll be doing video editing? Me, be a professional content creator when my parents sent me to school to study law. All those things, because volunteering is so important. I don't have to say what somebody told me yesterday, but like, Betty asked me if I'll still use my medical degree because I was doing something different. Like, I'll still use it, I'll still finish it, but still, those things that you are interested in, still try and pursue it. But
the amazing thing is,
yeah.
Sorry to cut you. The amazing thing about what you are studying in school is that all these other skills that you are learning is going to give perspective and create context for the things that you have learned. Let me give you an example. There was this guy that we then when I was in school, we were like influencers in school because we had a lot of following, that kind of thing. So they brought us on board as student influencers for a brand. And I got to learn that the person was a medical doctor. The person who started that organization, a medical doctor, but he was scared of blood. Right? He was scared of blood. So he started exporting the medical profession to the online space. So he created a platform where nursing mothers can interact with doctors. That's what he's doing to chop money now. As a matter of fact, he has created different expressions. He has created one for young people. He has created one for pregnant women. You get? He's creating stuff. And guess what? He learned medicine. But he also learned programming, learned web design, learned all these other things. And then he's using his knowledge in medicine to using his knowledge in this text to export his knowledge in medicine. Do you get? So it creates. See, people don't know. Sometimes I keep paying. Anyway, so I want Prince to respond to this question. How did you respond to the question? Why did you leave your previous job?
Prince.
All right. All right. So thank you very much.
Previous.
Previous.
Okay. All right.
Previous job. Yeah. So thank you very much. By the way, I was really enjoying the conversation about volunteering, school, and all of that. I mean, I was really engrossed in the conversation. So how to and I must say I also learned a couple of things. So how do you respond to this kind of question? Now, I think the first thing to think about is they're asking you this question so that they can know whether you stole money from the last whether you were fired from your last or your last job, or you stole money, or you're a criminal and all of that. So that, so just to play
So they
safe.
can know
It's the
how to
same
prepare
way.
for it.
Exactly. So it's the same way. It's the same way. If a man or a guy is trying to like approach a lady and all of that. So when they start talking, it gets to a point, the lady like starts to ask about his previous relationship or his previous relationships,
Yeah.
so that if they are like
How many
red flags, if they're like things to watch out for and all of that, so that even if if the lady is going to accept the proposal, at least you know what you're getting yourself into and all of that, right? So that's like the same perspective when it comes to when you're applying for jobs, opportunities and all of that. So I think a very good way to answer this kind of question is to talk about the fact that you felt that you had outgrown some of the opportunities that they offered, and you were looking to like you were looking for like new challenges, and you were looking for like a new role that would better align with your career goals, right? So there's a way that even like as a young professional and all of that, there's a way that our interests, let me say, sometimes evolve, right? Sometimes we even change like our interests and all of that. So we begin to seek for opportunities that align better with our career goals, right? So that's a very good way to answer the question. I think I should also give. So I think it was this week. Yeah, it was this week. So I saw someone that I know like very well, like I know her like to a very good extent. She has a very big hospital and all of that. And she's a medical doctor. Of course, she does other things. And then she posted on LinkedIn that she was seeking for a new role. And when I saw it, I was just smiling that like because she's if you know her, she's big. I don't think money is a problem. Like, to be honest, I don't think money is a problem and all of that. So it's not always about money, right? Sometimes people are trying to gain, relevant experience for the next phase of their journey, right? So I think you could talk about, how that you're trying to seek for a role that better aligns with your career goals, right? And maybe I should quickly touch on this. So it's also possible that they ask you a question like, oh, where do you see yourself in the next 5 years, right? Now, you have to be very careful of how you answer this kind of question, because you want to talk about it in a way that, like I said, they're asking you, but every time you have to really think about, them before you, right? It's the same way like human-centered design thinking. When you're solving a problem for a particular person, for a particular community, you have to start from, you have to empathize, right? So it's about them first. It's about what works for them, not what works for you, right? So if they ask you that kind of question, you want to ensure that you don't exceed, the boundaries of the organization. You don't say, in the next 5 years, I hope to have moved to this organization, to I'm not like, they are going to be like, this one just wants to come and leave and all of that. So you could say something
Yeah.
like,
Or you go and make the mistake to tell them that you want to start an organization similar to their brand.
You want to take their customers, their
Yeah.
investors. You have to take their knowledge, trade secrets.
Exactly. So don't say anything that would be implicated, right? So just say something that you look forward to, next 5 years, to maybe moving to a what's it called, like another role in the company and all of that, that kind, or like a more if, for instance, I was starting as in a junior role, right? You want to like talk about like you see yourself, like just talk about still seeing yourself within the company and all of that, right? So don't talk outside, the company or the organization. So yeah, that's just my input.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for that.
So just let me add something to what he has said. Now, you see that he has said so much about what you should say. Let me tell you what you should not say. Don't go and badmouth your previous employer, no matter how bad they treated you. Don't badmouth your previous employer. You will think that you are being, you are expressing yourself. and you are telling them how you feel. Gen Z, we are very, but don't do it. You are going to do it, and it's not going to serve you in any way. As a matter of fact, you're going to lose that job if care is not taken. Maybe it now happens that they are in a very good relationship with that organization. Eh?
Like before you
They
get
can,
a job,
they can go as far as circulating your CV within that industry. You will never get a job. I'm just saying. So just think about it. When you're asked that question, focus on your growth, right? Focus on how that you have served this organization during your time in this organization. If another thing you can do is you can twist it to find a way to serve them. For example, you can say something like, you've worked in this organization for 3 years, you serve them in these areas, and we're looking for, like Praise said, you're looking for challenges that will further stretch you and improve your experiences and all. And then you are very interested in taking all that you've learned in that organization and applying it to their organization. Do you get? Don't ever think that when they ask you that question is so that you can badmouth. No. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. Okay. Helena is asking, when the question asked is why the organization, what would be the perfect response? Okay. This new organization you are coming to, why us? Why me? Okay, why
what is it about the organization that is giving you so much just that's
out of the numerous organizations you could have applied for, why this?
Why? Okay. So it is basically about how it aligns with your own, number one, how it aligns with your career, growth, how it aligns with your own development as a person. So you can highlight certain things about the organization that makes them stand out from the other organizations that that play in that industry, right? So you cannot answer this question if you've not done your research. And when we are saying research, we're not just saying online. You can perhaps have someone who works in the organization that you can have a chat with or have coffee with, right? Those are ways that you can use to research the organization, because sometimes the things you find online may not really serve you. Yeah, may not really serve. So just imagine if what I found about that organization was what I took to that interview. So just make sure as much as possible that you've researched the organization and there's something, and be honest that there's something really about the organization, not just the money. Not like you say why the organization, you now say because when they pay 2 million, the other organization they pay 1 million. Of course, we not answer that question. Focus on the things that are unique about the organization. Focus on the things that are focus on your own goals and how it aligns to helping them achieve their own goals, right? And why you chose them instead of the so many other organizations. So Helen, I hope we answered your questions. I don't know if Praise wants to add something to that.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much for that question. To just to what he has said, can you hear me clearly?
Yes, thank you.
All right. So yes. So I also want to. I think I just want to talk from the perspective of you applying for opportunities as well. Because like I said, I want to believe that many people here are also are students and young professionals, and undergraduates, if to be precise, or to be more precise. So I think that it's just similar to when for instance, when you're done with your can you still hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes.
Okay. So, for instance, when you're done with your undergrad, right, and you want to apply for a postgraduate course, let's say you want to apply to study at, Harvard, right? There's something they call statement of purpose, right? So basically, that talks about why you're applying and all of that. Why exactly are you applying, and all of that. Why you're applying to Harvard, for instance. So a good way to think about it is, or to answer that question is, number one, you want to talk about how it aligns with your own goals, right? Like you said, like Mr. Andrew said, you want to talk about how it aligns with your own goals, right? For instance, you want to talk about how that, let's assume that you're applying to study at, let's say, Harvard Business School, right? So, um, and I mean, they're asking you why do you want to study at Harvard? Why not Wharton, for instance? I think Wharton is it Wharton? I think Wharton is like number one business school in the world. I'm not sure now. But let's say, I mean, so why Harvard? Why not Wharton, for instance? So you want to talk about the fact that, I mean, um, Harvard is known for, churning out, or churning out the best business, the biggest business moguls, all over the world, and you are attracted by that level of excellence, and that's why, like, you're applying. That's something like to talk about. You could talk about, like, maybe the track record, maybe like the fact that when it comes to business, it's Harvard, right? They have that reputation when it comes to business, right? When it comes to another thing, let's say you could also talk about the fact that, in Harvard, for instance, you really like the diversity, right? Because the thing about US schools, for instance, is that when they are selecting students, or they're admitting students, they are usually very diverse. So that's why most of the time when you see people who attend a US institution, a US school, right? You see that most of the time they always have a very diverse network, right? It's I mean, if you had attended another school, maybe like you had attended a school like Oxford, right? Oxford also gives you that access. I mean, you have that rich network and all of that, but you don't have that diverse network. But then if you attend Harvard, for instance, there's that diversity in Harvard University. So you get to meet people from almost all nationalities, right? So, and that's even cut across, like, even for most of the opportunities, you see that they can choose someone from two people from Africa, to choose two people from um, another from Europe. Do you get, like, so there, because of that culture of diversity, right? That could also be something that you want to talk about. Now, another thing, right? I'm intentionally speaking about it from the opportunity, like, perspective, because of most of us are students and all of that. So you could also talk about the fact that um, you are particularly interested. That's why research is extremely critical. So you want to talk about the fact that you look forward to learning from, for instance, you're applying to a particular school outside the country, like maybe Oxford, Harvard, Yale, Johns Hopkins. You want to do like your research, and you want to, for instance, I mean, let's say you're applying to study um, MPH for a dual MPH MBA program, right? You want to do your research, and get to know, like, some people in that exact program that you're applying to. So you want to talk about the fact that, you look forward to learning from maybe professor. You mentioned the name, right? What that is telling them is that you've done a lot of research, right? And it's also telling them that you know what exactly you want, right? And all of that. So it's really gives that, what's it called? It really makes someone that should um be a part of their organization and all of that. So the same thing is really like the same principles. You could also, if it's like a company, you could talk about the fact that, the company is known for rewarding talent, right? To rewarding talent, and the company is known for its culture of providing access to certain, like, platforms and opportunities for their employees. So, and that's why, like, you're attracted to the company and all of that. So that could also be something. I'm just really saying that it's almost like the same principle. So yeah, I think I'll just pause it there. Thank you very much.
Awesome.
Thank you so much, Praise, for that response. Thank you. Okay, do we have any other question? Let me confirm. Mr. Andrew, please, can you confirm? I think there was one question we're about to answer from Ogenemi Nedumuji. I don't know if that is still up. Okay. Ogenemi Nedumuji says, what if you just took a course and you don't have any hands-on experience yet? How do you sell yourself to your interviewer?
Okay. What if you just took a course and you don't have any hands-on experience yet? How do you say yourself to an interviewer? So for me, I would say focus on selling yourself as someone who has a habit of continuous learning, right? Instead of focusing on what you just learned in the course, focus yourself, use that to sell yourself as someone who is committed to continuous learning, because that's something that a lot of organizations like. They like people who are, you're not just in, everybody went to the university because their parents said, at least majority of us went to the university because society kind of told us that
That
you must go to the university, right? But when you find someone learning something, you know, they decided on their own that they're going to learn this thing, and they are taking a course, whether paid or free, right? It shows that this person has a habit of learning. This person likes to learn new things. This person wants to go on learning to improve the quality of person that they are. And if I'm employing you, it tells me that this person is willing to improve on the quality of service that they render. So sell your focus on that area. Don't focus on the content until you now have the ability to do it or you have done it, right? So that's basically what I would say to this question. Focus on selling yourself as someone who is committed to continuous learning. And I know that even when you take that course, there are certain areas of that course that aligns with the things that you are familiar with, the things you have experience in. When I was doing, for example, when I was taking okay, I used to use this story a lot of the time. I think one of the reasons one of the stories that inspired going before the academy, where we provide affordable mentorship. We call it affordable mentorship because it's not everybody that can pay $97 for mentorship. So I paid $97 for mentorship at a time when I needed all the money I could gather. Right? So I paid that. But when I was taking that course, I realized that a majority of all the things that we were teaching, a majority of it were things that I already know how to do. So what that course was helping me, I think one of the reasons why I really appreciated the fact that I paid for that course is because of the kind of people that I met in that community, and also the fact that there's a challenge now that is pushing me to use the knowledge that I have. Because a lot of the time we have this knowledge, but we have not done anything with it. That is why we are where we are, right? So when you take a course, there are areas in that course that aligns with the things that you are already familiar with. So focus on those areas, right? But if you take a course and the entire course is something that you're not familiar with, then focus on the fact that you are committed to continuous learning, and then sell yourself from that angle, right? You say, okay, I've just taken this course XYZ. It's supposed to teach me. It's teaching me how to do this. It just basically shows that I am committed to continuous learning and hoping to improve myself so that I can better serve this organization. So that's basically it. So I'm sure Praise would have something to add.
Praise, over to you. You have anything to add to that question?
Okay, yeah, I think you already said it all, to be honest. I was just going to say the same things. Personally, I believe that it really helps to walk the talk, right? So, for instance, like if you take a course, you know, I mean, you've learned a lot of things, new principles, new strategies, and all of that. Like, it really helps if you have already, you know, if you already put all of those things into practice, right? So it's possible that, for instance, you're just taking a course on project management, right? But you've done a lot of projects in the past, right?
Project. Yeah.
So I mean, you could just start from that angle. The thing is, the only thing is, if you've not done anything at all, you don't have any experience at all, and that's why, like, I would really encourage, everybody on this call to, like, just do something, like, just volunteer, so that you can just have experience. It's very important, because the thing is, when you see people who have experience, you see that they don't really sweat it, right? When they are talking, it's organic, it flows from the inside. But if you see someone that doesn't have experience, that is just talking, for instance, somebody that has never taken up a leadership role, and then you're asking them about leadership, and they're talking about leadership, they'll just start telling you what they read in Maxwell, what they read in Nelson Mandela's book, and all that. So that way you sound like AI, right? So, and you don't want to sound like AI, you want to sound like, like a human being. So,
A human being.
yeah, exactly. So, like, what I'm trying to say is that it really helps when you, like, start building experience, right? Start building experience, start building experience. So I think, that would just be my own, what's called to, yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you for that. So I think one way that you can gain experience before you apply for jobs, maybe in addition to what Mr. Andrew said and what we said, maybe internship positions or volunteer positions for a while. You just gain that hands-on experience before you apply for a job. I think that would help. So wow, ah, 1 hour spent a lot of time here.
Who
So we're
are?
rounding up soon, but I think almost 2 hours. I don't know. There's been a meme going on that I think I saw yesterday. Person stood up and bent their back. I think this is it fits this setting. After this, you just stand up and just crack. But I think we have one more question. We have one more question before we round up. I think it was from Helena too. Sandra, please can you help us with that? Okay, thank you. She asks, how do you research for organizations that are open for volunteering roles here in PH? I think that's Port Harcourt. My efforts to join one has proven abortive. So how do you research for organizations that are open to volunteering roles in PH? Praise, I think I would like you to answer that question
Yeah.
because I know that you are part of the executive committee of Ogbomoso Visionaries, yes. And what I will bring it up. I will bring it up. So yeah, and I think you and your group of friends, you are like, let's say pioneer, but like a pioneer set or the starting visionaries or the visionaries in your state. So I am in your locality. So I just want you to answer this question like, okay, there's nothing that fits what I have in mind. There's nothing that fits what I am projecting, seeing myself in the next 5 years or so. So how do I find one and join? Yeah, thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Right. Thank you very much for the question. So, number one, I think I would say that opportunities are not only online, opportunities are also in people, right? And when you begin to see it from that perspective, right, you begin to think about, like, how you want to also build relationships, right? Even as you're trying to, like, apply for opportunities and all of that. Personally, I've gotten a number of opportunities, not because I even applied for them, but because I was recommended by someone. Let me give you a very good example. So last year, I got connected to someone, you know, um, someone in Harvard University, and I mean, we just got connected. We had a conversation, very brief conversation, and all of that. And then I stayed in touch, stayed connected, and all that. This year, she was trying to work on a project, right? And she just called me and she said, "Oh, Grace, I'm trying to do this. I'm trying to do that. Do you think this is something you'd like to do? Do you think it's something you'd like to join me on and all of that?" And that was how I got the opportunity. And trust me, every other person that got the opportunity applied for the opportunity, right? I also applied for official purposes, but when you apply for something, and you know that you already in, like, you already got the opportunity. It's just for
Yeah,
records,
just
just for
yeah.
documentation purposes and all of that. So I got the opportunity, right? What am I trying to say? I'm trying to say that we have to really, really have put in mind that opportunities are in people, right? And personally, I believe in the 6 degrees of separation. right? Now, the idea the idea of that concept is basically, you know, for instance, the distance between myself and anybody anywhere in the world is just 6 people, right? So the distance between myself and the president of Nigeria, for instance, is just 6 people. I just need to be able to identify those 6 people, and I'll be connected to the president of Nigeria. I might not even need to go up to six, right? What I'm trying to say is that even if you are trying to apply for roles and you're not really, maybe like your efforts have been, you've been trying and you've not been able to join all of that, I'm very sure that there are people around you that will know someone that will know someone that will know someone that would have the opportunity that you're looking for. Like that stuff is very important. Right. Another thing I want to emphasize is I think that being vocal about what you're looking for is very important. Right. Because it's possible to be applying and applying and applying, but people don't know that you're actually interested in such opportunities. Let me give a very good example. So I always recommend that, for instance, when you start learning something, for instance, let's say you start learning um, UI UX design today, right? And you know that you're not learning the UI UX design just to, like, you want to learn, you want to use that skill to get opportunities. Now, when you start learning, I would recommend that you allow people to witness your journey, your growth journey, right? So, for instance, if you work on a landing page, right, you design a landing page, post it on LinkedIn, post it on Twitter, right? Just talk about how you did it and all of that, how it took your time and everything. The next day or the next week, if you work on if you encountered a challenge, trying to design a mobile app, talk about it on Twitter, talk about it on LinkedIn. That way, what that does is that you're already building credibility right from the time that you learned the skill, right? Because sometimes the reason why you are not able to attract certain opportunities is because you don't have visibility, you don't have the credibility that comes with visibility. Yes, there's a level of let me give you a very good example. It's just like if you have two small boys, right? Both of them are 5 years, right? And no, both of them are 2 years old, like babies, 2 years old. And you take one to the United States, right? And there's the second one, you leave the other one in Nigeria. Now, the one in Nigeria, starts growing. Of course, the one in the United States also keeps growing and all of that. And after 20 years, right? Both of them, the one in the United States and the one in Nigeria, they are now like looking for opportunity and all of that. Now, the thing is, because you've witnessed the growth process of the person in Nigeria, you find it easier to trust that person in Nigeria because you feel like, this person, the person has built some credibility and all of that. So that's the same thing that is important. That's the same way when you allow people to witness your growth journey, right? It also builds a level of, it has to like your level of credibility. So I'll say, start to build relationships even as you're seeking for opportunities. Number two, be vocal about it, like talk about it. Like I said the other time, somebody posted on LinkedIn that she was looking for a new role, right? So be vocal about it, talk about it, that I'm looking, even if you put it on your WhatsApp status, that I'm looking for a volunteering role in project management and all of that. If you have it, I mean, since it's even volunteering, I'm very sure that you're going to get, right? So if you're vocal about it, you're consistently talking about it, I am sure that you're going to get, right? Another thing is if you also like ensure that you also like show yourself valuable, right? Show yourself valuable. Talk about the things you've done before in the past. Talk about how you did it, the process, what you were able to achieve, and all of that. So that way, people will be willing to recommend you for opportunities, right? And also maybe like optimize your LinkedIn profile, optimize your, like your social media. Have a very good what's called like your Instagram. I mean, for instance, if you go to some people's Instagram, it's all their throwback pictures that you just see. No, like nobody is going to see that and trust you with something that is very critical, right? So you want to put every time you work on something, a project, put it there, let them see it, like put it there, talk about what you did, how you did it, how you contributed to it, and all of that. And you see that you begin to attract not just opportunities, but also people that can give you opportunities.
Really powerful praise. I've also learned a lot from all that you shared today. Uh, to
Thanks.
add to what you have said concerning these organizations, someone is saying it's really difficult to get organizations open for volunteering, except online. Though I think you're making that assumption because you've not walked into any organization. So let me give you an assignment, right? Within your locality, I'm talking to Helena now, Helena and Glory, and any other person on this call who has the same assumption. The reason why you think that way is because you've not walked into any organization. Walk into an organization and tell them that, okay, I see that you are lacking XYZ. I have what it takes to solve XYZ. Don't pay me. I'm going to do it for you. Right? Another thing you can do, you can even use that to create a job for yourself, and they'll be paying you for it. Like I said, the interview that I went for, the role I interviewed for was not what I ended up doing for the organization. I ended up consulting for the organization. Like they gave me, they were paying me to train a staff who was going to help manage their social media. Right? So it's something that you need to look into. Walk into that organization, check out organizations around you there, and look for the ones that align with your your passion. Then look at the skill sets that you have and the set of experiences that you have, and ask yourself, okay, which of these organizations do I think would need this? And then walk into the organization. As a matter of fact, organizations that have been existing for a while, you would often find that there are some skills that you have that can be used to serve those organizations. For example, let me give you a very simple example. You can simply walk up to an organization, even in your church. You can walk up to someone who has an organization, a known brand, someone that has been existing for say 10 years, and you tell them that, okay, that you see that they've worked for 10 years and you see they've amassed a lot of knowledge, and you think they have what it takes to share that knowledge with the next generation of business owners or leaders. You can tell them you want to help them create a platform to do that. You have social media skills. You shall know how to use WhatsApp more than most of those old people. You have, if you want to learn how to do this kind of thing that we're doing, like this YouTube live and all of this, and we can have a conversation about it, right? You can do that for that person. Maybe do it for the person for free for the first 1 month, and tell the person that, okay, subsequently you have to pay. Before you know, you have a full-blown job. Like you have a job that you are doing that started out as you walking up to someone to pitch yourself. So I think we don't have excuses right now. We have a lot of opportunities staring us in the face. Get out there, get uncomfortable. Some of you are so comfortable. There's an idea in your mind that you feel like, okay, this is how it should be. Okay, I should graduate from the university. I should take my CV, walk into organizations, submit my CV, do an interview, and get a job. But usually it's not the case. You have to go like this, go like this. Now let me give you an example. The lady I'm currently working for, I'm managing her brand. Like I'm managing the full expression of her brand. Social media, website, everything. There was a time that I consulted for her as a community management consultant. I consulted for her for free. Right? A friend of mine invited me to have a chat with her. And then I advised her on some of the things she could do and all of that. She didn't pay me for that. It's just a conversation. She was interested in she loved the conversation, but she didn't pay me for that. She didn't even pay my boat fee. But guess what? After that, I got a job. After that job, I'm working with her now, doing the same things. So I think we should get uncomfortable. Get uncomfortable. Get uncomfortable. The things that you know how to do, find somebody who can do it for the person for free. It will serve you in the long run. And you can use that to build that relationship, just as Praise has mentioned. Build that relationship. Thank you very much for your time. We spent 2 hours giving value. Come on now.
I never thought to say this.
Put a round of applause.
Thank you.
I want to see fire. I want to see fire emoji. Love emoji.
It's not me, please. It's for Sir Andrew and Praise, not me, please. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Praise. Thank you so much, Sir Andrew. Thank you. Well, not crying. Thank you. I'm really grateful. Like from the bottom of my heart, from the deepest. Yves, thank you so much. You both are people that I respect, I admire, and thank you. I'm sure that everybody, like here, everybody that asks questions, they've gotten answers to their questions. And for any job they will be applying for, any other voluntary position they will be applying for, any fellowship they will be applying for, any opportunity they will be applying for, they would appreciate the knowledge gotten here. I would appreciate the knowledge gotten here. Almost as I would. I would thank you. And just to reiterate some things that have been mentioned. One, research the organization or the role you're applying for. Research, like that's one thing that was stated over and over again. Research. Then two, when asked questions, use the STAR approach. Situation, the tasks, the actions, and then the results. Be confident. That confidence thing. You know it. You actually know it. Don't think you don't know it. You know it. That's why for you to even have maybe sent your CV, for you to have even clicked that link to say, let me try, it means that there was something that you think you know, there's something in you that you have that you can actually give. And yeah, that's just few points. If you want to get more, go back, just not now, but go back later, listen over and over again. Thank you so much. All right, so we're rounding up now. Thank you for everyone that joined, for those that shared the link. Thank you so much. And way before the Africa, my people. Thank you so much for partnering with us to do this. For partnering with us to do this, and it's a pleasure. Tomorrow we'll be having the first mock interview. And it's for those that are maybe you're applying for a job or a scholarship or anything of sort. If you register through the link, please make sure you register through the link. It's from there that we'll get the details to send. So it's from there we'll get your emails, and then we send you the details, like when you can join, how you can join, what time you should join. So please just make sure that you register through the link. If you're on the group chat, the link is already there, but later today the link will be shared again for you to register. Then on Sunday we'll be having the mock interviews for those applying for youth fellowships, youth opportunities, and that. So yeah, before I go, I just want to share what Sir Andrew and Praise, what they are working on. You know, Sir Andrew has already introduced himself as the founder of Way Before the Africa. So you can check him out on Instagram at Andrew Uneweka, and also can also check Way Before the Africa on Instagram too, and other social media platforms. There's a conference currently going on. I think there's one on the 22nd. It's a virtual conference, and it's important. Like after this session on interview skills, there are still other skills that you need to prepare for work. So it's not just this that you need, there's still others. So it's intertwining. So it's not just one thing that you need. So please, you can register, please do you'd get the required knowledge. Then I know Praise also has a company, a platform, Crest Consulting, if I'm not mistaken. So he helps with your CVs, statement of purpose, and every other all those motivation letter and every other detail like that you would need. So if you need help with that too, you can also reach out to him. Think on Praise Ogunleke on Instagram, LinkedIn, and other social media platforms. So yeah. So this is where we call it a night. It has been 2 hours. Wow. Wow. This is wow. Thank you so much, guys. Don't forget to please hit the subscribe button. Subscribe to Way Before the Africa. Because I said it before that my journey to personal development started from here. And if you subscribe, I can assure you that you'll be a better human, you'll be a better person. You would gain skills that school did not teach you. You would gain skills that school will not teach you. So please subscribe. All right, guys. So this is where we call it a night. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you for sharing the link. And we will see you tomorrow by God's grace. I remain Omatesi Brimo. Bye. Bye. Thank you so much. Bye. Thank you so much for joining. If you have any questions, just go back to the group chat and ask them, and we'll see subscribers. Bye. Thank you.